Welcome to Rosebank. My name is Ash from Ask Ash and I'm taking a tour with Tricold. This is the lobby of ONE Rosebank. Now we're going to take a tour of some of the show units. Background right now, we have phase 2 of ONE Rosebank, which is currently under construction. We're standing in the first phase. Can you tell me a bit more about the suburb? I mean, over the past 10 years, there's been so much development in Rosebank, both in the hospitality front, the residential front, the commercial front. I mean, billions have been poured into the suburb. What is the lifestyle like here? Why would you want to live here? Why would you want to invest here?
I think the difference between Rosebank and Melrose and perhaps Sandton is that Rosebank has retained its suburban leafiness. You know, going along still with how sophisticated the young people come in here. If you go and look at the beautiful restaurants and shops of Rosebank, it's quite different to Sandton, where it's very much a CBD, a inner city kind of feel. And I think that really is the charm of Rosebank. And what's been wonderful for us with ONE Rosebank is that we're probably in the mink and manure part of Rosebank. We're bordering Dunkeld, which is one of Johannesburg's most sought-after suburbs. We are joining a brand new development called Oxford Parks. So all these beautiful new buildings that you noticed when you arrived here, and that runs all the way down Oxford Road, and we actually are joining the Oxford Parks precinct. And as I say, this is the top end of Rosebank, is the most sought-after address within the greater Rosebank. But I think Rosebank is leading the resurgence of the Johannesburg property market, which has been so flat for the last 10 years. And with what's happening and the success of these developments, I'm so encouraged to see, and I really genuinely believe that we're at the bottom of what's going to be an upward growth, albeit a slow and sure one, but I think we've seen the worst, and Rosebank is contributing strongly to that. And
talk to me a bit about timelines. How are we looking? When are we ending? When is key handover?
As you can see, they just, the scaffolding will come down soon. They're just doing the final touches there. So that's phase 2. Everything is sold out here in phase 1, and we over 50% sold and selling very steadily. We sell between 10 and 15 apartments a month, and we're handing over that phase 2 in February of next year.
I'm standing here with Chef Coco in the Epicure restaurant, which residents have access to as residents of ONE Rosebank. Chef Coco, please tell me a bit more about your establishment. What can we look forward to on the menu?
So Epicure is basically not just a restaurant. When you come here, we give you a food journey. So it's really a culinary journey that you have around the whole world, but with the focus on African. So you taste cuisine from North Africa, East, West, Southern Africa, obviously.
Sounds absolutely stunning and so appropriate for South Africans, because sometimes I feel like we do have the whole world here in Joburg. And you said you're 100% sold out on phase 1, so you have a pretty good idea of who your buyer is for this product. Tell me, who is that person?
So our buyers are predominantly investors. And because of the attractive entry-level ticket price, what's been quite encouraging for me, it's not the older, more seasoned investor. It's been very encouraging to see young investors or two people, pooling together and buying one of these units. They've heard about the fantastic returns. And what's been wonderful, Ash, for me, is that I know Cape Town, you benefit from all the international buyers, but we've had at least 20 buyers, American buyers, buying apartments here at ONE Rosebank, which has been, for me, very encouraging. I've been selling property in Johannesburg for 40 years, and it's very, very rare we get African buyers from sub-Saharan Africa and Zimbabwe in particular, but we don't often attract American or European buyers, and that for me has been very encouraging, that they're not just buying in the South Coast or of the Cape or the Western Cape. They're actually now buying investment apartments in Johannesburg.
You talk about American buyers, it's the first I've heard it as well, and I think that's beyond reassuring amongst the beautiful chaos that's happening in Jozi. And I mean, you said it's for the investor product. If you are an investor, what are you looking? Talk to me about the numbers. What are the yields looking like when you invest in this?
So the occupancy here has been quite astonishing, 80% occupancy. So our buyers are getting, for example, in a little unit like that, they're averaging 25,000 Rand a month. And when the guys who got in earlier in phase 1 were buying these units for a little over R1 million. So even if you take off the 20% fee for the company that's doing the short-term rental, your rates, your taxes, your levies, no transfer. I mean, the yield's in excess of 14%, which is unheard of if one looks at other suburbs or even our competing developments here in Rosebank, or even Cape Town for that matter. To be getting yields of 14 to 16%, I think is quite astonishing. particularly for Johannesburg.
And you've got plans for more phases after phase 2?
Yes, and that'll be block 4, which is all 2-bedroom apartments, which we're also currently selling at the moment. Also about 50% sold, but that'll come a little bit later in June because they're obviously just completing the basement area of that, and that's what's known as block 4, but forms part of phase 2.
We are currently standing in a mock residential unit. And Kent, please tell me a bit more about the design layout of these units, as well as more on the design finishes and your guys' choices. I can see, I'm standing on herringbone floors, which is a really expensive option when it comes to a finish, and I can really appreciate that. So if you could just let me know a bit more about your guys' decor and design here.
We stand in the executive 1-bedroom apartment, which is extremely popular with our investors. They prefer the separation of the bedroom from the living area, and it's a very, very popular unit. We do have an exec suite unit, which is just a single room and about 10 square meters smaller than the space that we're standing in now. We always decorate our units in our what we call our platinum finish. So as you rightly and you notice straight away, it's a solid oak floor as opposed to a timber laminate, and it's been improved so much over the years. Actually, it's so durable, and I think that's something that Tricol take into account. We've learned so much from our previous projects that we've done, and we sell, I'd say 90 to 95% of all our buyers are investors looking to do short-term or long-term rentals. But it's very, very important for their peace of mind. Many of them don't live in South Africa, and they want to know that the unit is going to be durable.
Absolutely, and especially when it comes to an investor product like this, most of the time these investors are never going to set foot in the unit.
No.
So your selection of those durable finishes takes the hassle out of them having to replace it with all the short-term traffic.
And complete peace of mind for them at the same time, yeah.
Totally, and I must say I also really, really like this choice of tabletop here.
Yes.
A lot of new developments you come in and the tabletops
I know.
really not as impressive as this.
I know, and obviously the smeg finishes, the nice choice of the color of the taps. You'll see in the bathrooms you've got a beautiful glass sliding door, going into the shower room. And I just think that we've learned so much, and it's so important, these finishes, just because it's a small apartment, it doesn't mean that it needs to not be spec'd. We sell very high-end apartments from 6 to 9 million rand here in Sandton, and I can assure you that these finishes are the same level as those apartments. It's just that the ticket price here is 1 million to 2.5 million rand. And I think that's one of the reasons that ONE Rosebank has been so successful. And when we were on site here, when there was nothing here, Tricol went and built a full mock-up unit like this. And when you're selling to people off plan, it's vital that you can showcase the kind of apartment that they're going to get, on delivery.
Now, Kent, I want to chat to you a bit about the amenities such as this restaurant. What sort of amenities can residents of ONE Rosebank get involved with?
Okay, so very shortly we're going to be going with our phase 2. Downstairs there's going to be a beautiful, more casual dining. So it's light lunches, dinners, obviously breakfast, and that'll also be catering to the people that will be using our beautiful pool outside. There's a magnificent gym, and obviously I think this, to be able to come here, I think that's what our investors are really enjoying.
Something I noticed when we came up was there's actually 2 sets of elevators, so I'm assuming the one set is for the residents?
So yes, so obviously when the fact that this is open to the public, we've got to make quite certain that our residents doesn't impact on the security of ONE Rosebank. So you could see we all came up in a separate lift which comes straight up here to the restaurant, and there's no other access to the rest of the building. So somebody coming here, for example, and enjoying a meal can't go into the passages or go into the development in any way.
When it comes to investors, I want to talk about the Tricol investor, because I'm somebody who literally eats, breathes and sleeps the property market of South Africa. I chat to so many developers and landlords on a daily basis, and I look at the Tricol offering, which is different. You've got your Olympus in Sandton, you've got this ONE Rosebank investor product, and I can't believe the numbers. Last I researched, you're on over 650 million in sales for ONE Rosebank. You're on a couple billion sales for the rest of Tricol as a total. What is the magic mix with Tricol that the investor is just so happy that they're coming back and you guys are selling out?
I think, it's astonishing. I was just chatting to a conveyancing attorney on the way here who said to me, Kent, he's hearing about all this incredible success of Tricol. But if I think the amount of the time, the detail that goes into it, and I have the benefit of walking on site with Tim Klook, the CEO of Tricol, when we go and look at that site. From that very minute, we are all involved, and I think we keep learning from Ellipse, our first offering, which is nearly 7 years ago, 700 apartments adjacent to the Mall of Africa, huge success. We're busy handing over the final tower there, and I think that's what sets Tricold aside as the preeminent residential developer in Gauteng by some margin. And I've been selling residential property here for 40 years in this town, and we've really been in such a flat market, Ash. You know, since 2015 and the Nene Gate story, everywhere else is going well. The Natal North Coast is going crazy. Cape Town, I don't have to tell you. But it's been so sad for me to see how we've probably gone backwards by 10 or 15% here in Gauteng. And I really believe that the success of Tricold's developments across the board here in Gauteng, from Midrand to Rosebank, is heralding a resurgence in the Johannesburg, which a long-awaited resurgence of the Johannesburg market, which is really giving me a lot of joy.
It's nice to just say those things and believe those things, but I always look at the numbers and things need to be measured, and you guys, the numbers are there.
Actually, we've done 2 billion rands worth of sales for Tricold this year.